When we first bought this acre of land 10 years ago, I don't think we ever imagined being able to do all the things that we've been able to do over the course of our time here. Our biggest challenge living in Arizona is always water, like can we water our trees and water our plants and keep everybody healthy and happy and have a nice pasture. So the idea of having a pond in Arizona was pretty radical because not a lot of people put ponds in their backyards. A lot of them do pools instead. So my idea was I wanted to create something that was sustainable, that I could grow fish in, that I could swim in, that I could enjoy. And with our summer temperatures getting to be up to 120 degrees, it's so tempting to build a pool in your backyard, but I just knew that the second we would build it, our kids would be too old to swim in it and they'd be gone, and we'd be out there staring at this concrete, chlorine-filled water, and it would just become this kind of nuisance. So we really wanted to create something that was a healthier option to swim in, so we weren't dealing with chemicals, but also something that we could enjoy for years to come, and something that wouldn't really become a nuisance, but become something that just gets more beautiful with time. But it was a little bit more challenging than I thought. So I finally found a company that was willing to do enough circulation to really make this happen, and we got started. And it was just crazy to see our backyard transform so fast from this grass to pond. It was crazy. When they started digging it, we had a bit of a heart attack. We definitely had that, oh no, what did we get ourselves into moment. But as they started digging down into the levels of the pond, we got more and more excited to see it come together the way we had drawn it out to be. So it's interesting because a pond is dug like an upside down cake, and so there's these steps that you go, and as you dig down you kind of go in a little bit further on all sides and down another step. We didn't want to take too much of our pasture, so we decided to place it really pretty close to the house. I mean, we wanted to walk out our back steps and jump right in or sit on the porch. Circulation that they put on the bottom was really important because that's going to create sort of an upflow. And because we're in Arizona and we have the challenge of the heat and we need the pond to stay active year round, whereas in other areas they will have a dormant season, we really needed the circulation to be fantastic on the bottom. So after they laid the underlayment and then the liner, they started placing all the different pipes and plumbing down on the bottom that would push the water up and help us keep this really great circulation in the pond, as well as oxygenation, which really helps the fish. The best part was when they started to place the boulders, because it was so cool to see how each one would fit together like a puzzle almost, and it really does take a lot of patience and time to sit and make sure that every boulder fits exactly where it's supposed to be. And so as they move up in the shelves, you'll see that they're placing a boulder a little bit further back and a little bit further back, just making sure it's secure both in the place it's positioned and how far back it's positioned. The jumping rock was the scariest thing. I thought, this thing is totally going to fall over, we're going to jump on it and it's going to smash to the ground, but they made sure that it was really secure on all sides, and it's been fine. We've been able to jump on it, no problems yet. In between each of the boulders, there were a bunch of little rocks and pebbles and gravel and all sorts of things. So really the liner in the end is not going to be shown at all, which is going to really help this last a long time. They made sure to build a couple fish caves at the bottom because there are so many birds around here that are going to snatch up our fish, and we wanted to make sure and give them a place to hide. That, and in addition to it being close to our house, will hopefully protect the fish from being eaten by anything but us. The most exciting part, I think, to me is the fact that we are creating this little oasis in the middle of the desert on a really pretty small plot of land. I mean, we're only on 1 acre, but I've always been a real firm believer in the fact that you don't have to have it all to be able to have it all. And so I don't care if we only have 1 acre, I don't care if we live in the middle of the desert, we're gonna have our little farm and we're gonna love it. Dang it. In addition to creating the actual pond structure, they also made 2 different areas. The first is an intake, which is kind of like a natural skimmer. It's where the water will flow. It's where the hoses will pump back up to the larger wetland filter that they're building now. So these 2 things are kind of on the opposite sides of the pond. The intake is going to pull things in, push it up to the bigger filtration up at the top. And those 2 parts are going to help us filter and clean the pond, both in just like large debris and in little microscopic bacteria that we don't want in the pond. That was probably the biggest challenge, is that because we live in Arizona, we had to figure out a way to be able to have enough filtration to sustain it. So you'll see when they move to the bog area at the top of the pond that it is going to be bigger than you ever thought. It's really big, but it has its purpose, and that's to house most of the bacteria and the plants. And that bacteria and those plants, they are responsible for so much of what keeps this pond clean and clear. So we're excited to see that develop and to see the process happen. Having a living pond is like having your own mini ecosystem in your backyard. There's all these working parts that's going to keep it clean and keep everything functioning, keep the fish happy and healthy. And so when you first build your pond, or they call it when you first birth your pond, you know, the water is this new sterile water. It doesn't know what to do. But as you continue to work with it and introduce different parts of nature, it becomes this amazing ecosystem. And we're just excited to watch it develop and enjoy it.